Greetings, everybody. Richard Fulmer here, and welcome to another one of my Richard's Rock Rambles. So we've left the 40-year-olds where they should be behind us, and we're going to carry on in the next few episodes looking at some jazz rock fusion. Now, I've got to be upfront and honest with everybody here. I don't have the world's biggest jazz rock fusion collection. Mainly because it wasn't something that I was always into. You know, I was a confirmed metalhead back in the day, and metal and hard rock was pretty much all I listened to. But, you know, as you get older, your tastes change and you're more prepared and to listen to other stuff. You broaden your mind a bit. And I think for me, the reason I got into jazz rock fusion was because of progressive rock. Now, there's kind of a crossover between progressive rock and jazz rock fusion. Both genres have incredible musicianship, lots of time changes, interesting music. And so that's probably why I drifted towards that sort of genre. So we're going to have a look at two albums today. The first one is from a gentleman who did jazz rock, he did doo-wop, he did hard rock, he could do pretty much anything. I'm talking about Frank Zappa. Now, I think I've only done one Frank Zappa episode prior to this one on the channel. And I got severely wrapped over the knuckles for that one because I got quite a few things wrong. I forgot names, etc., etc. So this time I've made doubly sure. I've written down, because on the album that I've got, there's not much in the way of information as to who's playing on the album, etc. So I've written that all down, so hopefully I'll get it right this time. So the first album we're going to chat about is this one from Mr. Frank Zappa, Hot Rats. I love that cover. Always makes me want to say peekaboo. And this would be, I think, his second, I hope that's right, second solo album. I'm trying to think what was the Lumpy Gravy, I think, was the first one. And then this one came along. And this is one of those 2-on-1s that you used to get on vinyl. So on the other side, you've got Chunga's Revenge. But this is the one we're going to chat about today. See if there's anything I can show you. You see it. This is a gatefold sleeve. And there it is. And there's not much apart from the song titles. That's why I had to write everything down. So this was released on October the 10th, 1969. 1969 was such a happening year for rock music. For most music, jazz as well. Everything was changing. And it was recorded between July the 18th and August the 30th in 1969. So about a month and a half doing the album at the famous Sunset Sound Studios in Los Angeles. And I think Frank Zappa did stay in LA. He was up in the Laurel Canyon area. And produced by Frank Zappa, you know, the perfectionist that he was. He liked to get his hands on the controls. And the cover features a Miss Christine of the GTOs. The real name was Christine Freaker. I think that's how you say it. So that was her there. I always thought it was a guy, but it's a woman that's one of the GTOs. Girls Together Outrageously was the band that Zappa produced as well. Had a very short career. A bunch of groupies, basically. And Christine was one of those ladies. So who was in the band? Super tight band. I mean, did Zappa ever have a bad band? I don't think so. Right throughout his career, he had top-class musicians who were really well-versed in what they did. A lot of them went to classical training. I mean, Frank himself was just a master musician and arranger and conductor, all the rest of it. So you had Frank there on guitar, octave bass, and percussion. Ian Underwood, I think he was the husband of Ruth Underwood, who would also play with Zappa, on piano, flute, and all saxes. And then Zappa's friend, Captain Beefheart. He would be there on the track Willie the Pimp. And Max Bennett on bass. This guy's a seriously good bass player. I was actually listening to this album last night, and I just sort of tried to isolate the bass work, or just listen for the bass work. And some of the runs this guy was doing was amazing. But like I said, he's always had good musos, or had good musos. And then, of course, the world famous Jean-Luc Ponty on violin on the track It Must Be a Camel. I think Jean-Luc Ponty also appears on Overnight Sensation, an album that came a bit later. And then from the band Little Feat, or gone to play with Little Feat, Lowell George was there on rhythm guitar, although he wasn't credited on the album. For whatever reason, they left his name off. And then there were three guys on drums: John Guerin, Paul Humphreys, and Ron Selico, on drums. So quite a lineup. I think there were a few other guys as well that I might have missed out here. So let's go through the tracks. And the first one is absolute classic. Peaches and Regalia, 3 minutes and 58 seconds of just brilliant jazz rock fusion, some incredible guitar runs from Frank. Always an underrated guitarist for me, one of the top of all time. Had a style all of his own, almost like he was playing leads backwards. So that was the first track. Then we go on to Willie the Pimp, the one I mentioned earlier, with Captain Beefheart on vocals. Really strange voice, kind of unique. I think he also appeared on the album with Muffin Man on it. I can't think of the name now, but he appears on that album. And Son of Mr. Green Jeans. So there's only 3 tracks on the first side, but the second are like 9 minutes and 8 minutes, so they're fairly lengthy. Cool stuff. This is headphone music. This is not music. This isn't 3-minute love songs that you're going to impress your would-be girlfriend with. This is music for musos. Side 2 starts off with Little Umbrellas. The Gumbo Variations, 12 minutes long. Brilliant stuff. And then It Must Be a Camel, finish things off at 5 minutes and 15 seconds. You know, you'd think it's an instrumental album, so there's not a lot of subtlety. There is a lot of subtlety in here, even lots of melody, and like I said, with just incredible musicians playing. There we go. Frank Zappa's Hot Rats. If you're a Zappa collector, this is a must-have, especially from the early stuff. You know, there were some of the early ones that I didn't get into, especially the doo-wop stuff. But this I really enjoy. I often reach for this album, that classic cover. So that's the first one. The second one we're going to look at is a gentleman who sadly recently passed away. I still find it hard to say Jeff Beck's passed away. And we're going to look at an album called There and Back. Pretty nondescript cover, although it's kind of says what it needs to. And there at the back, you've just got the songs. There's nothing inside here. This is a bog standard LP. I'm not sure if this was ever a gatefold sleeve. So here you also had an incredible lineup. This was him doing his sort of jazz rock fusion. I think he got into that after watching the Mahavishnu Orchestra and bands like that. He thought, hang on, I can do that. And Jeff Beck pulled it off beautifully. Sorry, I need coffee. I'm talking too much. So this album, along with albums like Wired and Blow by Blow, were Jeff Beck at his best in the sort of jazz rock fusion genre. And I mean, some of the names on here: Star Cycle starts off side 1, where you got all guitars Jeff Beck, keyboards Jan Hammer, and of course he played with Jan Hammer for quite a while. There's also a great live album with the two of them, and also on drums Jan Hammer. So he also did some of the drumming. Then the second track, Too Much to Lose, Jan Hammer, Jeff Beck, and Simon Phillips on drums. Simon Phillips, that I've mentioned so many times on this channel, playing with people like Toto, and he's played with Michael Schenker Group. He's played with everybody. And he did a few albums with Jeff Beck, I think. You Never Know, that's then a really well-known track, which Jeff Beck used to play right up until he passed away, when he did live concerts, The Pump. And there you have on keyboards Tony Hymas. Now, Tony Hymas would do other albums with Jeff Beck. I think the Guitar Workshop, him and Terry Bozier joined up with Jeff Beck. That would be many years later. I think that was either in the 80s or the 90s. And on bass, a guy called Mo Foster, brilliant bass player, excellent bass work on this album as well. And I think Mo Foster, for a short while, I might be wrong here, played with Whitesnake. I think he was filling in for somebody else. I know that they played at Donington a few times, Whitesnake, and I'm pretty sure that one that you can see on video Mo Foster's the bassist there. I might be wrong. Then we go on to side 2. El Becco, Tony Hymas, Mo Foster, Simon Phillips, and Jeff Beck. Also a great track. The Golden Road, same lineup. It's pretty much the same lineup for the rest of the album. And then my favorite track on here, with some incredible drumming from Simon Phillips. The man was just a beast. Even back here, I mean, he's got better with age. If you catch any of his stuff, more recent stuff with like Simon Phillips's Protocol, that band. But the track Space Boogie, just magical stuff. And of course, Jeff Beck's guitar work is just top draw, very unique style. Nobody sounded like Jeff Beck. For me, he was another kind of a Hendrix. He's in that bracket. And then the album finishes off with a final piece. That's just guitar and keyboards, Tony Hymas and Jeff Beck. Stunning album. If you enjoyed Blow by Blow and Wired, you'll enjoy this one. So there we go. That's the first 2 albums in my jazz rock fusion journey that we're going to take for the next couple of episodes. Like I said, I don't have a massive collection of jazz rock fusion, but I'll see what I can find for you. Have yourselves an excellent week. Please down below, any comments, any suggestions, any comments, good or bad, also cool. Thumbs up will be fantastic. Thumbs down if you must. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please go ahead and do so. Also, there's a bunch of videos that I've done prior to this. If you want to check them out, just go onto videos and you can cherry pick whatever you want to watch. Have yourselves a great week. I'll catch you soon. Ciao.